meeting. I'd like to call it to order at 7:39 and ask you to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Pleasure of the committee. Motion by Mr. Demodico, second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have approval of minutes from regular meeting 326, special meeting 331, special meeting 4-2, special meeting 4-2, executive session 326, executive session 3-2. We have an enrollment report from April 1st, school police report from March 1st, residency truancy report from April 1st. The one thing I ask is that we pull the executive session from 326 and table that item, and because the minutes are not available at this time, it's my responsibility. So, pleasure of the committee. So motion to table the 326 minutes, second by Mr. Fiorello. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. And we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Fiorello and Mr. Denon. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Salvatore. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. All right, now that we have that business out of the way, Dr. Thornton, we have recognition this evening.
We do. I first need Mrs. Patton to help me with our first two award winners. Mrs. Patton.
Hello and good evening to everybody. It is my pleasure to be here this evening to recognize two of our many amazing students from North Cumberland Middle School. The first is a 7th grader. His name is Philip Eberson. You can, if I have to stand up here, you're going to stand up here. Philip was recognized as his grade level spelling bee winner. He went on to win the school-wide spelling bee and also the district spelling bee. He then made it all the way to the 8th round of the statewide spelling bee. And what word did you get out on? Teriyaki. That's a tough one, but great job. So, this certificate of excellence is hereby granted to Philip Eberson for outstanding participation and placement in the District Spelling Bee 2015, and you are our first place winner from the district, so congratulations. And our second student that I would like to recognize, come on over, Jack. This is the best part about middle school, these guys are in the same grade. He's also a 7th grader, and he participated in the school-wide geography bee, placing first. He then went on to the state level of the geography bee, where he made it to the finals and was in the top five for his age group, which also included 8th grade students. So this certificate of excellence is hereby granted to Jack Murphy for outstanding participation and placement in the district geography bee for 2015, and he is also our first place winner. So congratulations, Jack.
I need Mr. Tucker from Sedexo for our next two awards.
Good evening. My name is Mark Tucker, Food Service Director for Sedexo in Cumberland, and Nick Cormack is the Food Service Manager. We have the privilege tonight to hand out the awards for the Future Chef. This year we had 10 participants. We had the top 2 students from each elementary school in Cumberland. We want to recognize them. They competed on March 7th on a Saturday morning in Cumberland High School, and they did a Top Chef competition. We've been doing this for 4 years now, and it's been a great event. And many of the students that do it every year actually come back. We have a student that's been here for the 3rd year, which is really good, and it really helps us teach kids the importance of healthy eating and how they can get involved in doing it at home, and obviously to learn more about healthy nutrition as a student and also how they can grow that into an adult. So there's in no order. We have the top 3 winners, and we'll save this for the end. Elise Almeida is in Ashland School, grade 3. Also at Ashland School, Thomas Roy from grade 4. And from BF Norton School, Louis Canario, grade 4. And BF Norton School, grade 4, Mia DeBarros. Community School, grade 5, Brooke Patterson. So this is Garvin School, grade 4, Samantha Murphy. Also at Garvin School, grade 4, Allison Stanovich. Okay, this place, so this year's 3rd place winner goes to Madeline O'Sullivan Van Eaton. Second place was Rachel Montague Run, and she is from Cumberland, grade 5. And first place we had Grace Ian Nunes from Cumberland, grade 3.
Alex,
She's not here tonight. This is actually Grace's 3rd year doing it, and she came in first place. So she came back year after year because she really enjoyed it. So she had Grace's free pizza. Thank you. Yeah, we do. So we have one more thing to do. So last March, Emily Cormack spent a long time applying for an award for the USDA, and the award is called the Healthier U.S. School Challenge Smarter Lunchroom. These awards are voluntarily done throughout the country as part of the Let's Move campaign by Michelle Obama. So I'm just going to read just a little bit about it so you guys can understand what the award's about. So the Healthier U.S. School Challenge Smarter Lunchroom Award is a certification initiative that recognizes schools for their efforts in improving food and beverage offerings, teaching kids about nutritious food choices, and being physically active, providing opportunities for physical activity, and having supportive school wellness policies. Participation is voluntary and certifies the schools that meet the specific criteria for different levels. And so there's, I just wanted to read a couple of things. So to meet or to exceed to get this award, you have to meet the meal pattern requirements for school breakfast and lunch offerings. Smarter lunchroom techniques, which is an example of placing healthier items at the arm's length of a child, or putting the non-flavored milk in front of the flavored milk, so that it's a technique of helping kids make better choices. Average daily participation for the school lunch program is obviously silver, and gold is going to be participation that has higher free and reduced. So school districts that have that type of standard are going to be eligible for silver and gold. Nutrition education, physical education, opportunities for physical activity, school wellness policies and practices, and a menu of other criteria of excellence from which schools select. So we have obviously other avenues to select to show what we do at special events, such as Future Chef and things like that. So, we submitted the criteria for all 5 elementary schools in Cumberland, and we found out this past January that all of these schools have been awarded and received an award. Each school gets a plaque, and they also received $500 for each school to go towards their nutrition programs. So, I have all these plaques for the principals. So, John J. McLaughlin Cumberland Hill School. We have Norton Elementary School. Tony's not here. We'll hold on to it for him. Ashton Elementary School. Community School. And Auburn. And I didn't bring them all tonight, but every school is going to get a banner. And we're going to roll out this banner, and it's got, so it can be hung in the cafeteria or the gymnasium or other places. So this is directly from Washington. So these are the banners, and they get to go up in the schools. Yeah, so these are certified in each elementary school. So we'll hope to be working on getting a celebration for a district-wide celebration at some point this spring. So to celebrate all the awards. Thank you.
So congratulations to all. What a great set of achievements we have. It's wonderful to see you. It's wonderful to see all the principals here congratulating the students in their schools. We're going to take a few-minute break because I know you probably all have tons of homework and you need to get a good night's sleep. And come back anytime. We'd love to have you. It's always nice to see your faces. So thank you. Take a 2-minute break.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I know. We started this last year. Just,
Next item on the agenda, discussion of book growth mindset chapters 1 through 4. Mr. Mitchell, I did not want to have the students, I don't think they did their reading in advance, so I didn't want to have them join in on the book discussion, but here we are now. I don't know how you want to get this started?
Well, do we have our books? Do most of us have our books? Okay, some of us do. Well, I thought just to, it might be helpful to give just a brief overview of the book, and then we can maybe have a short discussion about the chapters that we have read to date, and which I guess we were focusing on chapters 1 through 4. Let me just say this about the book. You know, I think it would be beneficial for, I think, anyone to read, not only educators, and several of us have read the book, but I think, you know, the book references business leaders, or anyone in business for that matter, parents, any relationship would benefit from reading this book. So I just, you know, there's a couple of quotes on the cover of the book which I think really capture how beneficial it really is to everyone. So here's just one very quickly. This book is highly recommended, an essential read for parents, teachers, and coaches, as well as for those who would like to increase their own feelings of success and fulfillment. Another one, a good book is one whose advice you believe. A great book is one whose advice you follow. This is a book that can change your life. Now, not to be overly dramatic, but this, I believe, is one of those books that really, it's provocative. It gets you thinking about the way that you deal with relationships and with raising children and educating children. So I really do believe that it can have a profound and positive impact on a person's life if they seriously use some of what they've learned in reading the book in their own lives. So the book focuses on two things: the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. So let me just read two quick things and then we can have a conversation about the book. Mindset is a simple idea discovered by world-renowned Stanford University psychologist Carol Dweck in decades of research on achievement and success. A simple idea that makes all the difference. In a fixed mindset, people believe their basic qualities like their intelligence or talent are simply fixed traits. They spend their time documenting their intelligence or talent instead of developing them. They also believe that talent alone creates success without effort. They're wrong. In a growth mindset, people believe that their most basic abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. Brains and talent are just the starting point. This view creates a love of learning and a resilience that is essential for great accomplishment. Virtually all great people have had these qualities. Teaching a growth mindset creates motivation and productivity in the world of business, education, and sports. It enhances relationships. When you read Mindset, you'll see how. So we have spent, many of us in the district have been reading this book. I think we purchased over 50 or so copies. We have guidance counselors, administrators, teachers, school committee members reading this book. And it really, I think it challenges our thinking in that intelligence is not fixed. And if you work hard, and we've talked a lot about grit and perseverance, if we challenge ourselves and really work hard at improving, we can get better. And that really is what the book is all about. So that being said, here is really the guiding question for those of you that have the book. When you were reading the book, what did you find most compelling? And some of you don't have the book. You might want to just offer some of what you remember about the book. But those of you that have the book, if you could identify the page in the paragraph that you want to focus on, that would be most appreciated. So, what did you find most compelling? And if you could bring us to that page in the specific text, that would be great.
I'll go first. So I don't know the page, but I remember the content. So it was the content around how teachers can influence students either positively or negatively, and what kids in different mindsets can achieve. So if you're told that you're a bad math student and you believe it, you're doomed. If you're told you're a poor math student and you know you've got the ability to move beyond that. Some people find it as a challenge, that kind of that negativity. And I can say personally that really resonated with me, having had feedback very similarly about my math abilities. So I found that we can send such a strong negative message, or we can send one that's intensely positive for that student about how we can redirect that energy, and using kind of the growth mindset philosophy. Once they realize they can be achievers in it, then they can really kind of radically move forward. And I think what we heard tonight with the BF students is exactly that. So students started out struggling and challenged. They didn't know how to, put together a writing prompt, but they were given the tools and the skills and the encouragement, and they were able to kind of dramatically improve what their writing output was. So I don't remember the page, but if I find it in the interim, I'll let you all know.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Salvatore.
Mr. Mitchell, I do not have my book in front of me, but one part that does stand out is that I like how they define the difference between the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. And one of them on the fixed mindset that stood out an example was somebody who failed a test, got a parking ticket, and then tried to vent to a friend And at the end of the day, they considered that if it was a fixed mindset, that they were going to continue negativity towards the rest of their day, maybe not study. But a growth mindset would put that individual onto a pace to say, well, maybe I shouldn't have parked in that area where I got the parking ticket. Maybe I didn't understand the test to my full capacity and I need to study different aspects of it. And then maybe my friend's just busy and they'll call me back later. And with that type of growth mindset, that person could excel more to higher ratios of learning or whatever they need to have ready for their day.
For me, it's page 33 at the bottom, talking about defining moments. It says here at the bottom, even in the growth mindset, failure can be a painful experience, but it doesn't define you. It's a problem to be faced, dealt with, and learned from. To me, that speaks back to around 2011, the school committee and myself talking about the funding, the BEP, the whole conversation. Certainly at first, not getting much traction, not as well received. Now 2015, it's really a statewide conversation. So it's really nice to see a lot of grit, a lot of perseverance, and here we are 4 years later having a statewide conversation about the funding.
One of the things that really grabbed my attention was the danger of praise and positive labels. How praising a child for being smart, for example, can actually have a negative impact on their growth. And on page 71, there are 3 interesting questions. Right under the bold heading there, it says, if people have such potential to achieve, how can they gain faith in their potential? How can we give them the confidence they need to go for it? And how about praising their ability in order to convey that they have what it takes? In fact, more than 80% of parents told us that it was necessary to praise children's ability as to foster their confidence and achievement. It makes a lot of sense, but that can be dangerous. So here's what they did. Here's what Dr. Dweck did in her research. What's great about, and this is at the bottom, the last 2 paragraphs on the bottom of page 71. What's great about research is that you can ask these kinds of questions and then get the answers. So we conducted studies with hundreds of students, mostly early adolescents. We first gave each student a set of 10 fairly difficult problems from a nonverbal IQ test. They mostly did pretty well on these, and when they finished, we praised them. We praised some of the students for their ability. They were told, wow, you got 8 right. That's a really good score. You must be smart at this. They were, they referred to this Adam Gattel, you're so talented position, but you must be smart at this. We praised the other students for their effort. Wow, you got 8 right. That's a really good score. You must have worked really hard. They were not made to feel that they had some special gift. They were praised for doing what it takes to succeed. Both groups were exactly equal to begin with, but right after the praise, they began to differ. As we feared, the ability praise pushed students right into the fixed mindset, and they showed all the signs of it too. When we gave them a choice, they rejected a challenging new task that they could learn from. They didn't want to do anything that could expose their flaws and call into question their talent. In contrast, when students were praised for effort, 90% of them wanted the challenging new task that they could learn from. That to me is incredibly powerful, just by the way that you praise a learner. Praising a learner for working hard and putting forth the effort is much more beneficial than saying, you're really smart.
Mr. DeMonica.
I don't have my book either, but there was a couple of items that I saw here that even tonight, I'll bring that up in a minute. But the person who designed the IQ test didn't design it to test one's IQ. Designed it, so kids could, for the French system, see if they were being serviced. And I thought that was very interesting that the test wasn't designed to test one's knowledge. The other one was that the author, for a 6th grade teacher, had it in her mind I told you this last week, that only the kids with their highest IQs could clock the erasers, carry the flag. They're the only ones that could be trusted. Today, that would be unheard of in a classroom. You know, the teacher would single out just those kids only to do that. And the final comment is that tonight we heard from the parents, the staff at BVP, not BVP, BF Norton, on my mind. And, about the changes for students that we talked about in math and in writing, that mindset that they could do better and change, really brought forth tonight.
Mr. Duffy.
So I actually did bring my book. Do I get a gold star? Yeah. Thank you. It's been a long time since I got one of those.
You're smart.
I'm on, I get through the erasers now. So I'm on page 78 and 79, trusting people's opinions. So it drew me to this was because it talks about female students. Having a daughter, I guess it draws me to reading a lot of that stuff. And there's a few different parts I'll pick out of it. So it says, many females have a problem not only with stereotypes, but with other people's opinions of them in general. They trust them too much. So this is where we discussed earlier about the fixed mindset as opposed to the growth, and how if there's a female who has a fixed mindset, how it can really hamper them even more. They go on to talk about when girls are little, these girls are often so perfect. They're often told they're so perfect and they delight in everyone telling them so. So they do things and they get praised for doing that. When boys are constantly being scolded and punished, when we observed in grade school classroom, we saw the boys got 8 times more criticism than girls for their conduct. So it's, through those young years, it's really set this tone that girls do everything right, boys do everything wrong. But the boys are, it goes on to say how the boys are used to it. I mean, they're called slobs and they call each other that. And they just brush all that off because they're used to the negative criticism. So then it goes down farther on page 79. The fixed mindset, plus stereotyping, plus women's trust in people's assessments, I think we can begin to understand why there's a gender gap in math and science. Because when they start doing it, they don't get it right, they want that positive reinforcement. When they don't get it, sometimes they run away from it. So down at the bottom it says, math and science need to be made more hospitable places for women, and women need all the growth mindset they can to take their rightful place in these fields. So it just showed me another issue that might be leading to that gap why some females aren't entering those fields. Even though we continue to try to push them in, it's just another way to look at why they might be keeping themselves out as well.
Mrs. Teal?
I just had a follow-up, because the conversation with BF representatives was so interesting, but one of the comments that you hear over and over again is how teachers are so surprised at how well these kids can do with Common Core standards, that they kind of came in sort of with a fixed mindset that this would be too difficult for the students, that they couldn't achieve these standards. And really what we're finding recently is that's not true at all. With the right preparation and the right commitment to the students, that they are capable of incredible growth. And I think it's important for our teachers and for parents to read a book like this, to think about it, have a more open mindset, have a growth mindset to what our students are really capable of, because I think they'll continuously surprise us.
Mr. Adams, did you have something you wanted? I know you're reading the book with us. Not to put you on the spot, but...
I do not have my book, so I am not smart. But I have been reading the book, and I think the thing that I took from what I've read so far, which might be a little counterintuitive with the growth mindset dynamic, is that I think we often are thinking of students who might not be thought of as gifted initially, and yet if we don't want to put those kids in the box. But I sort of took the reverse look at this, because you've got so many kids who are quote-unquote smart, and if we don't treat those kids with that same sort of growth mindset dynamic, those kids are really the ones that are really in trouble, because once they hit that wall, that could be the end for them. And then I started thinking about, I forgot the guy's name, we saw him talk about the pilots, and how we're losing so many kids who could be great, perhaps because we're not allowing them to fail or telling them it's okay to fail when they hit that first stumbling block, and they could be phenomenal 5, 10, 15 years later. So that's one thing that I drew from it. I don't have any personal experience with that with my own children, but I'm hoping I will at some point.
Thanks, Mr. Mitchell. I think you had wanted to add something.
No, just really to piggyback on what Steve was talking about. They gave the example of Garfield High School, which is in South Central LA. And the teacher, we all know, Jaime Escalante, and how well those students performed. In fact, they, on the top of page 64, that first full paragraph, it says, Garfield High School is one of the worst schools in Los Angeles. To say that students were turned off and the teachers burned out is an understatement. But without thinking twice, Jaime Escalante taught these inner city Hispanic students college-level calculus. With his growth mindset, he asked, how can I teach them? Not, can I teach them? And how will they learn? Not, can they learn? But not only did he teach them calculus, he took them to the top of the national charts in math. In 1987, only 3 other public schools in the country had more students taking the Advanced Placement Calculus test. Those 3 included Stuyvesant High School and the Bronx High School of Science, both elite math and science-oriented schools in New York. What's more, most of the Garfield students earned test grades that were high enough to gain them college credits. In the whole country that year, only a few hundred Mexican-American students passed the test at this level. This means there's a lot of intelligence out there being wasted by underestimating students' potential to develop. That's just to piggyback on what Steve said. And it gets back to what Linda just said, that our students, in fact, all students, are capable of doing more than we think they can, or that many people think they can. And I just find myself now thinking, we do this all the time. That's the growth mindset. That's the fixed mindset. It just makes you think that way.
One of the parts that I liked was on page 91. I enjoyed the sports stories, actually. I don't know if everybody got to those, but how being a natural athlete can actually be a curse, and you need to fail in order to really grow. And I'm not going to read the chapter here, but just the one line was, the naturals, carried away with their superiority, don't learn how to work hard and how to cope with their setbacks. So that just seemed interesting, and also the talk about character and how you can develop character over time. I thought that was good.
So shall we continue on with our reading, Mr. Mitchell? What's our next assignment?
Dr. Thornton usually assigns, gives us the assignment. So what do we did 1 through 4, so we should do 5 through 8 the next time? 5 through 8 the next time, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Salvatore.
Madam Chair, we haven't heard from school committee member Fiorillo. He wants to weigh in on the book.
Oh, sorry.
I think we've had great participation tonight, and I wouldn't want to put anyone on the spot. So I'm sure he'll be ready next time to maybe he'll start us off. And I'll also add, my boss and I are reading this at work, so it's kind of interesting. We started reading it at the same time, and we talk a lot about, because we do a lot of like process improvement, when folks will say, well, we've always done it this way, we don't want to change anymore. So you can see even I'm sure this can apply to education too. Well, we've always done it this way, and this seems to work for a lot of the kids. And so you're always trying to make your systems better, and I think that connection for me was like, wow, how ironic that this is coming in a little confluence here. So 5 through 8, maybe in a month or so? Sound about right? Excellent. It's a great book. It's a great choice. I'm glad we're reading something we're all engaged in. Next item. Funding formula and the BEP. I do know that there's been a few articles in the paper about the subcommittee for the House that's looking at the funding formula. And my understanding is they'll have a report in the spring that analyzes some of the differences between various districts and charters, and would anticipate that they'd be having some recommendations that would go along with it. We've had some great testimony from a variety of folks over time, so stay tuned on that. Next item is reports of standing committees payment of bills. Mr. DeMonica.
Madam Chair, the Finance Subcommittee did meet tonight and reviewed the vouchers provided by Mr. Brignano. We approved payment of bills in the amount of $1,368,511.82. I just want to make note that the business manager is going to be holding back a check for $39,000 until we get from RIDE in regards to work going to be done here, coming up with Gerardo, the architect. But the full payment was approved, and we're going to hold that until we just get that final one. So I move that we approve the bills in the amount of $1,368,511.82.
Mr. DeMonica moves passage of the payment of bills. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Next item, Fiscal Management Subcommittee update. Mr. DeMonica.
Getting back to this, we did get an update from the business manager in regards to the budget and where we stand in regards to bills.
Can you just put your microphone on? Yes. Thank you.
I'm sorry, so again, get back, we did get an update from the business manager about our budget. We will be coming on later tonight to approve some new lawn care equipment. We did approve the contract for the new director of special education. Sedesco did give us an update in regards to how they're doing with food service, and there was no activity report, so we'll be talking about some of these later on.
Thank you. Next item, Policy and Procedures Subcommittee update. Mr. Fiorello.
Yes, Policy and Procedures did meet last week. We decided on final language for the G6 personnel policy, which we'll bring forward later for a vote.
Excellent, thank you. Achievement and Communication Subcommittee, Mrs. Teal.
Hi, we met this evening with representatives from BF Norton, Mr. Damana, the principal, Ms. LaRiviere and Ms. Rue, math and reading specialists. It was another great conversation. We've been enjoying speaking with our representatives from our different schools. They gave some great information of how they're looking at students, how they're targeting students, how they're figuring out students that are succeeding and students that have weaknesses, and then how to really go after those weaknesses to bring about some pretty significant learning over the course of the years to get all students closer to being on grade level or exceeding grade level. So it was really nice to hear from another school that's making great strides. On April 23rd, we'll hear from Cumberland Hill, and we'll continue until all schools have had a chance to present to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, Building Committee update. Mr. Fiorello.
We are just waiting for the final reports from Toronto. Is that correct, Mr. Bruno?
They have the reports for...
Well, I'm waiting for the final report. And then we'll have a building committee meeting probably in a few weeks, just to bring everybody up to speed.
Excellent. Thanks. Next item, public hearing, reading of policy, the amended policy G6 personnel benefit for non-unit administrative and support personnel. Does anyone in the public wish to speak regarding that policy? This would be your time. One more second. Okay, hearing none, we will call the public hearing closed at this time, and we will move on to comments from the public. Nothing. All right. Another quiet evening at the school. No, that might not be a bad thing. Yes, the growth mindset. That's working. Next item, old business, discussion and/or vote to approve the amended policy G6 personnel benefit policy for non-unit administrative and support personnel. Mr. Fiorillo.
Yes, G6 was in policy last week, like I said, and we did finalize language. As you know, this has been on the agenda for several meetings now. I'm just going to highlight a couple of the changes. One being, first of all, this policy really only affects, I believe, 29 employees. What these employees will be able to do going forward is carry over 5 vacation days that they have not been used to the following year. They will not be able to accrue more than 5 days. We do encourage them to take their vacation days though. Also, we have reduced the life insurance policies for new employees, which will be starting actually with the contract that you've seen for new special ed director. It used to be that top tier employees were receiving $200,000 in life insurance and lower tier employees were receiving $100,000 in life insurance. We've cut those numbers in half, which will represent a savings to the district in the long run. We've also just laid out some more of the cell phone stipends, just to clarify some language. If anyone has any questions, I am sure myself or my compadres could answer them for you. Otherwise, I will move passage.
Mr. Fiorillo moves passage of G6 personnel benefit policy for non-unit administrative and support personnel. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. Are you a compadre?
Yeah, yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Fiorillo. And discussion and/or vote to approve purchase of new lawn care equipment. Mr. DeMonica.
Madam Chair, the business office had given us a proposal to buy 2 Kubota lawn tractors so we could start cutting the grass here in the district. The last time we bought lawnmowers when Mr. Hilton was around.
I was there. I remember.
But with discussion tonight, Mr. Prignano is only going to buy 1 right away. And the second one, we need to have some discussion of where it's going to be placed in the district. So the committee voted 3-0 to approve the purchase of 1 Kubota mower from Norfolk Power Equipment of Rentham, Mass. in the amount of $12,509.28. We do not have a resolution number for this yet. We need Cindy Chavez to assign a number to that, so we'll get an update and put that on the next agenda so we can get a sign a number to this. But we recommend passage to buy the 1 lawnmower this time.
Mr. DeMonica moves passage to approve the purchase of new lawn care equipment to include a single lawn mower with a mower deck. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. Mr. DeMonica, does it come with any other attachments? Copy.
I'd like to say no, yes, but I mean, I have the specs here that I'd be glad to read through them.
No. Does it include the ability to do like sidewalks or anything like that?
Normally you don't cut sidewalks, but this time you do, I guess.
It's just a lawn.
It's a lawnmower. It's a riding lawnmower that will help us maintain our fields and so.
Sometimes you can add attachments. I'm just saying. Heated seats, they got a little cab on it. All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yep.
Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago there was discussion that the town council was going to look into.
Yes.
Yeah, so I was just wondering where that ended up, or did it end up anyway?
I informed Mr. Peter Bradley that we haven't heard anything more from the town. There was a question in regards to how much we're actually paying for lawn care, and Mr. Prignano corrected us tonight that we pay $15,000 in total in labor charges to cut the grass. And we were under the impression that we hired 2 men during the spring, we had summer help, and then 2 men after in the fall. And that's still the case, that put employees to work, but our total cost was only $15,000. there was no way the town could do it for 15 years. Just no way.
Just as told, so we didn't get a figure back from the town, or we just,
We did not get a figure back from the town.
okay.
Mr. Fiorillo?
You know, I understand that there was a question regarding what we were paying, but that really shouldn't have any bearing on the town being able to give us a price of what it would cost for them to do it. And I would still be interested in hearing that price.
So,
Mr. Duffy?
so I guess that's where I am with this. Do we need to purchase this, I'll defer to you, do we need to purchase this immediately, or do we have some time to wait to get an answer back from the town? Or if it's something that we might need, because I know the grass isn't growing yet, but in a few weeks it will be, we might have to order it. Is there something that can be rented temporarily until we can get that answer, if we do have to have a short-term measure, I guess?
4 to 6 weeks to take delivery.
4 to 6 weeks.
We should have some, we don't have any really one equipment at all. We should have at least one reliable piece of one equipment, whether the town helps us with grass or not. You know, but I think that's why I recommended bringing it from 2 to 1. Maybe the town will partner up with us, you know, but
So this has been a long-standing conversation, and we have engaged with the town on a few occasions to try and share and collaborate. And even when Mr. Hilton was here, the equipment was woefully old, beyond repair, and we were relying on outsourced services to help us with that. So I don't feel uncomfortable about having one on site for 9 locations, because I know as field day rolls around the corner and school graduations, it's nice when the grounds can look presentable versus really needing some lawn care. So,
Madam Chair,
Mr.
Finance was given a copy of a local contractor through the business office that wanted to charge the district, I believe it was $3,500 a cutting. Cut the grass 4 times, there goes the 12,000. So that didn't work out, with that price.
thank you. Anyone else? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 6 to 1. Next item on the agenda, new business. Discussion and or vote to approve revised 2014-15 school calendar. Dr. Thornton.
As the snow has receded, we now bring back to you the final calendar for this year. Just take note of the 2 dates, still the June 4th graduation is still where it was previously, and now the last day of school is June 16th. I need you to take an action to officially approve the calendar.
No more school, snow days. All right, pleasure of the committee on the school calendar.
I'm just looking at my 10-day forecast here first before I...
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the revised calendar.
So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Duffy, we're good?
It's good for 10 days, yeah.
All right, thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Next item is discussion and or vote to approve employee contract for Director of Special Education. Dr. Thornton?
Yes, this wasn't fiscal sub, and I believe it did pass 3-0. I can tell you that Dr. Santa has been filling in since the winter and has done an exceptional job, so she's a great candidate to bring forward.
Mr. Monica, anything to add?
I'm sure we approved it in fiscal for 0, and she's subject to the new G6 person.
Thank you. And are you moving passage?
I am moved passage.
Thank you. Mr. DeMonica, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fiorillo. And discussion, Mr. Fiorillo.
I just want to say I was on the interview committee that saw the 3 candidates. All 3 were very good. Dr. Santa, I think, did stand out above the rest. She has been doing a great job. And I've also heard plenty of parent feedback that really have enjoyed working with her and helping them solve problems at the school level. And I know she's been working very hard with the new coordinator system. So I think the district's moving forward in a very positive way.
Excellent. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries 7-0. I think it's nice when you can have someone in the district for a bit of time and you kind of get to work with them and see what their strengths are. So I'm glad that that worked out. So that was the employee contract, and then I need a discussion and a vote to approve the appointment of the Director of Special Education. Mr. Fiorello, would you like to move passage of that?
Yes. So,
Motion by Mr. Fiorello, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Denon. And thanks for the feedback, Mr. Fiorello, that was good to hear. Any further discussion? Doctor?
just to touch, Center would have been here this evening, she'd have prior engagement, so I will pass this on to her.
Excellent. Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. Excellent. Next item, personnel recommendations. Dr. Thornton, do we have any this evening?
We do not.
All right. School committee comments, school liaison. Oh, yes, sorry.
I believe you missed something, Mr. Pernano.
Oh,
Standard
is that what you're there?
waiting. On the agenda, we had up a facilities update. So we have a.
Do I have a motion to adjourn? No. Sorry about that. Okay, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you, for that welcome. Dr. Thornton asked Wayne and I to give a little update tonight on capital projects.
Can you grab the microphone? I know how much you like to use that.
Yeah, Dr. Thornton asked Wayne and I to give a little update on what's going on with the facilities and some projects we hope to accomplish or get done between now and maybe the end of the school year, and into the summer. Does everyone have, I think Cindy sent this out in your documents? Everyone has that? Okay, great. These, Wayne went out and took pictures and put this document together. And so we'll just kind of go through some of the projects that we've got ongoing here and try to answer any questions you have. As you all know, the first one, we recently completed the work a phase of work with the ENE where they did some boiler work for us, and they installed 3 energy management systems in 3 of our elementary schools that they had systems in the past, but somewhere in the 90s they became in disrepair and not maintained anymore. And so we have these systems in the schools which could help us control energy costs and when lights go on and off and fans and other things. And as part of that project, we had these 3 energy management systems put back in a state of repair. There's a couple of things now that ENE's gone in and updated equipment and kind of fixed the front end of these systems. There are some additional minor repairs that are going to have to be done, and the electrician and Wayne's staff should be able to do most of this work as we, in the next few weeks or whatever, get these things operational for certainly next year. But these systems probably run about $100,000 each because we had the systems already in place. We got the 3 of them fixed for the $93,000, so roughly a third of what it would have cost to put a new system in. The next picture you see on there, we recently realized that the cable winches for the basketball hoops at North Cumberland Middle School were unsafe. They were in a situation where they could literally come down and fall and hurt someone. So we're replacing them. It costs about $4,000, and that work's going to be completed this week. The transition building, there's pictures there. I think as you come in every day into the school department, those black panels and the glazed windows there, those black panels are all rusted out, and there's been quite a bit of water damage, I guess, there. So we're in the process of getting prices. We'd like to get that fixed before we, incur any more damage. Also, the wellness center is the same type of thing. We have, when we get certain rain in certain directions, the water, and you can see pictures there where the windows aren't really sealed, that you can see right outside, and then we climbed up on the top of the bleachers and we're able to see this, take some pictures. So we've got people giving us prices on both those projects where, in order to prevent further water damage. Next item down, you see community. It's just some flashing that needs to be repaired. Bob Mitchell and I went out there the other day. We got a call from Principal Giroux. There was water pouring in one wing. Of course, one of the wings that we just recently painted, but whatever. Water pouring into a couple of classrooms and stuff. So Wayne's going out with one of our roofers, and they've identified the issue where it is. And we issued a PO today to get it fixed, it'll be about $4,700 to fix that leak. And then there's also some, you can see in the pictures, some flashing and stuff that's come off during the winter that we're gonna fix. Parking lots, we've scheduled parking lots to be swept, I think, 3 weekends, weekends starting the end of April and into May, so that we'll have them in for when ceremonies happen, kind of in the spring, graduations and that type of stuff. So we're gonna get all the parking lots swept for I think a real good price, $3,900 for all the schools. So that's scheduled. Garvin, there's a carpet in the library that's kind of, looks like you could surf on, it's kind of wavy and that type of stuff. We wanted to replace it before school started, we didn't get to it, and we've had to wait till a vacation week, because you gotta take everything out of that library, all the books and furniture and all that type of stuff, and have time to get it all back. So that will happen in April. Community, we're finishing painting, about $40,000 to do that painting of that entire school, all the hallways or whatever. That's about halfway done, and I imagine it'll finish within the next week or so. Parking lots, we had some damage done in parking lots, especially in McCourt during the summer. We're gonna go out and look, and, we're gonna have to do something there. It looks like almost a large crater, like a meteor fell into the parking lot. So we're gonna have to address that, obviously. E.F. Norton and other elementary schools, we're looking at the playground equipment. We've put an order in for $8,000 to replace broken pieces on the playground at B.F. Norton. I don't know if you have Wayne yet. I haven't received anything else from any of the other principals yet in their playgrounds, but B.F. Norton, we did get the request, and we've ordered that equipment. So we'll Hopefully that playground will,
back in a safe order. Trans building, we're replacing the generator in the trans building. That's something we've been talking about. Cost of probably about $50,000 to $75,000. I'm not sure yet, but that's out in the paper this week. We recently finished the engineering study, and we put the ad in the paper. And I think we all know the need for that. The generator we have here is just not capable of handling, especially some of the equipment that the IT department runs now and stuff. And that's on its way. And then if you look at the last page, we talk about high school. We're looking to install some boiler room controls. Probably at a cost of about $30,000. And then you see some pictures of some pipes and stuff, and we're going out having some drawings done for the mechanical room piping to create some bid specs for replacements. Why don't you talk a little bit about this, what the risk is here?
Yeah, this is your major heating system piping, so it's just they're at the end of that life cycle. Excuse me. So the piping's at the end of its life cycle. It's original to the building. You see all the damage there. It's imminent kind of threat stuff. So we really want to address this before we have an issue where these bursts. We have flooding in the school again, kind of like what we had last winter. This wouldn't be caused by winter conditions. It's just by wear and tear at this point. The cost of this might be something that we got to consider just because we have asbestos on the piping for the installation, especially on the elbows and stuff like that. But we have to take that into consideration as a part of the scope of the project. And also the motors and pumps themselves would have to have some replacements as well. So as you can see in the pictures, like on these flanges and everything on the piping, they're all they call orange peel. It looks like an orange peeling away, and there's acorning of the actual nuts and bolts of it. So these we have to completely cut out and redo the piping basically in these mechanical rooms. And there's about 2 to 3 of those mechanical rooms that we'd be looking at.
So a lot of this work, if we did all this work, it would probably be somewhere between $2,000 and $250,000. So what we plan on doing is getting prices on all of this stuff as the budget unfolds, and depending on how our budget looks as the year goes on, we'll do as much of this work as we can. If the budget holds the way it is now, run about $500,000 ahead, we would try to do all of this work. If we have some slippage, then we would do as much as we could, but we wouldn't be able to do all of it. But we're getting in a position so we will be able to if things work out financially in the budget. Any questions on any of the projects?
Mr. Dennis?
Actually, I have a couple questions. One about, thank you for doing the parking lots again. That's great. Is there any thought to striping them? Some of the parking lots have no lines, and it makes it really hard to park. Do we have a quote on it? Can we get a quote?
No, we can look at that. I mean, you know, we have to go out and look at the schools. Some of them are probably in worse shape than others.
Yeah.
Do you have a, I mean, it's community, but you have.
I go to community a lot, so I see, but I'm not sure if that's the worst. There might be others that are worse.
As far as the worst, it'll probably be McCourt, I tell you, because in terms of, you know, right now, in some parking lots, you can actually get like that asphalt sealer to seal cracks. The consultant a year ago said these cracks are too big for that. You're past that point. Striping kind of like, just like a rustic drive type of situation. It's not really worth striping.
Yeah.
I would look right now McCourt, but some schools you can stripe, you can stripe now, the community you can stripe.
And just another question about the North Cumberland, the gym. I know over the winter there was a problem with the floor, and a lot of kids were slipping on the floor. I know you cleaned it and that made it better, but is there an issue, a long-term issue there that we need to address that you know of?
It's just as well.
Does it ring a bell?
Yeah, I remember the situation. It might have just been the frequency that they were cleaning the floor. They weren't doing it enough. Also in the winter, we get a lot of sand and dust and dirt into the buildings. Something we could look at is also a walk-off mat program for the entrance of the school. That kind of gets a lot of dust and dirt before it gets into the building and up into the gyms. But it wasn't just at that school. It's a continuing problem all over just because of the kind of winter we have. With salt and sand, yeah.
And one more question about the lights in the gym. I heard they kept going on and off.
Yeah, we had an issue with one of the switches there, so that was repaired, but we also have some lights we have to do in there, some replacement bulbs and some ballasts. The problem there is we can't get a lift in there. We have to set up staging, so it takes a couple days, just because the elevator access has a weight limit on it, and it's like a two-story building segregated by that middle section, so we have to kind of take a couple days to set up the staging and then do the lighting and then break it all down, so.
So is there a plan?
Yeah, we were actually working with E&E. They were going to do a project with that because we want to do LED lights on that. And there's some great incentives with National Grid right now that we could get it for a good price and get a good return on the investment on those.
But we've had E&E go out to all our schools to look for opportunities with LEDs, and like Wayne mentioned, there's some good rebates out there right now, so we can try to take advantage of these as we move along.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Duffy.
Just a question on the generator for this building. Is the generator that's there, I'm assuming it still works, it's just that it can't handle the load. Is that going to be repurposed somewhere within the district, or is that going to be part of the bid that they take it, or what are we going to do with a currently working generator? I know it looks old, but if it still works, it works.
It works. It's sporadic. It's reached the end of its life cycle as well. It's one of those things that, you know, if you try to repurpose it, the cost of moving it and installation wouldn't be worth what it is in its value.
Well, the town has some interest in it at one time.
We had another generator that was in better condition that the town did. We did donate to the town and the highway department because their generator failed during a storm a while back. But that one, like I said, the life cycle is gone on it, so the replacement would just be the demolition of it and removal.
Will we still be offering it to the town if they would want it?
If they want it, yeah. I don't think they're going to want to spend the money to do the installation and everything of it because you'll get maybe a year or two out of it.
Yeah, I just hate to get rid of it if there is a need for it somewhere else within our system or within the town, that's all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
To expand on School Committee Member Duffy's comments on that, so how do we know this generator is bad? Do we have an expert come out and look at this generator? Or is somebody just making an educated guess that this generator is bad?
Our generator service company, I think Charpentier, we've been using them for years. They've been recommending replacement for a long time now. And we have a lot of outages where it won't come on. Mike kind of lives by the thing because he's worried about the servers and everything like that during any kind of conditions where we might get a power failure.
Also, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Mr. Pignano, every time I'm at Ashton School, there's a tile, same tile is removed, walking into the gym, and it's an expansion valve. We were there for a father-daughter dance, and there was a bucket there, and kids were tripping over this. I remember mentioning this over a year ago. How come it's not on this list?
We did do a repair there, and the repair didn't remedy that situation, so now we got to do another one.
So how long does the repair take? That's my concern. We have little children walking by this every day.
Yeah, it was mostly during the summer because the snow that was on the roof, we couldn't get to it because it's a flat section of roof. And the gutters were actually frozen solid, so that
I don't know if it's that much of a priority, but I don't know where it falls on your list, or is there even
John,
a
I
list?
think it reaches the level of this. I mean, that's been a long time leaving between.
I would like to see,
Between the new gym and the old wing.
okay, I'd like to see like a parent-child type of list on what's getting done, rather than, I mean, I like this, but it's just 4 pages of some pictures that, you know, doesn't really, I mean, I'm not being disrespectful, but it's 4 pictures of, you know, stuff getting done before and after, which is okay, but I got a couple other questions, Madam Chair. Where are we to budget with these projects?
Well,
Like I said, I gave a report tonight to the Finance Committee that shows us at this time running about $500,000 ahead. And some of these projects, like some of the smaller things we've already done and are kind of in the works, we haven't paid for them yet. You know, like the repairing the basketball backboards at North Cumberland and a couple of the others here. If the budget continues to, we're getting prices on a lot of this stuff now, if the budget continues to go the way we hope, running at $500,000-600,000 ahead, some of this work's probably about $250,000. We're going to do as much of this as, and hopefully all of it. But this is another case where, you know, this is all stuff that shouldn't be being paid for out of the school budget. This should be being paid for by, you know, the town used to provide $400,000 a year for capital improvements in the schools that 2007, 8, 9 went away with the state budget problems. The town was forced to make cuts. It's never come back. This is one of those things that when we talk about, you know, like we always have, we're going to have a teacher, one teacher for every 24 kids. It's those secondary things. It's these type of things that don't get done. Or now, you know, we're doing them and this is taking money away from other things that you guys would like to do, whether it be busing or interventionists or whatever. So, but, I mean, without it, you know, these are things that all need, in my opinion, to be kind of done immediately to head off either bigger repairs down the road, similar to what we did this year when we repointed the pool wing. You know, the cracks and stuff were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it was going to be a very big problem to, you know, costly solution to fix it. We were able to do it for $51,000 now. Maybe 3 years ago it would have been $30,000, who knows, you know? But I'm hoping that the budget will allow us to do all this stuff this year.
Okay, 2 more questions. Was the North Cumberland Middle School girls' showers, the curtains taken care of?
I don't know.
It was not taken care of? That Mr. DeMonica and I attended a PTO meeting there several months ago, and that was a concern that parents had, that shower curtains were ripped.
I believe the message that I got was they would get taken care of the next day.
We're talking.
This is actually the first time I've even heard about this. Sometimes
Mr. Alexander, have you worked on this?
I went out and looked at them, that was on the website, I measured it out, but it was something we were trying to find a way to hang the curtains up and more like that, because the size of the stalls themselves, it wasn't a standard size, so we had to get special rods made, and I just.
Right. No disrespect, but I'm concerned about some of these oversights. And one of the oversights I also have is also the custodian oversight. I think I want to put out a request that stuff like this gets bulleted, and then we get updates on this, because with this not getting done, I'm concerned about girls' shower curtains at the North Cumberland Middle School. Parents have a legitimate concern that their children are taking showers, and is concerned that the curtains are ripped. So I need some closure on this.
So typically we have an annual summary, an annual report of items that have been completed. When exactly does that occur?
Oh, we've given updates a couple of times during the year. We can summarize it. We can summarize what we've done so far this year, which I think not too long ago we sent that out. There was quite a bit accomplished for the very little money we have.
Agreed. I think the concern is that if items are raised, and clearly there's some that are big priorities because they have maybe high risk, or others that are raised as a modesty concern, we'll say this probably needs to be a way that we can, as committee, working with the constituents, report that more efficiently.
I would just add, for everything you identified, there are 10 more things on our list we do this on a shoestring, quite honestly. So I really take exception. I think they're doing a great job. And
I don't think they're not doing a great job. I just think that some of the items that really need to hold priority are just slipping through this crack by just day-to-day operations.
I disagree.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation where, because we have not had any dedicated capital money, what we're often doing is finding surplus that we realize through contract revisions or other circumstances, or when we've been able to take advantage of grant opportunities. The reality is there hasn't been a capital line item in the town side of the budget since 2009, is that right, Alex?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
Yeah, so all the money comes from the education money. And as discouraging as it might be when you visit a school and you realize the ceiling tiles are stained or there's a bucket catching water, we're taking education money and we're putting it toward capital expenses. And it's frustrating for all of us. And given that the state had put a moratorium in place for school spending, there was no capability to realize school improvement money. And I think what you see with other school districts is their school buildings are falling down. We're trying to keep ours at least glued together. But we know that there are major capital repairs that need to take place right now.
Sure.
Mr. DeMonica.
I have to agree with Mr. Salvatore. On October 6th, I sent the email out about the girls' showers. And the answer was, I'll check with it in the morning, and if there are none, I will purchase them and have maintenance install the shower curtains. I mean, this is a modesty issue among girls as well there, and we just blew it off. And it was 6 months later. I have to agree.
I gotta say something. You know, I would have to say that at some point, the people on this committee that are so concerned about these issues and they report them should really follow up. Talk to the building administrator, see if they've been taken care of. If not, call Mr. Alexander, call Mr. Prignano, call Dr. Thornton, and make sure that these things are getting done. Don't just let it drop for 6 months, expect that it's gotten done, and then get all angry when it hasn't.
Final comments, Mr. Salvatore.
I have to disagree because we put people in place that should be responsible to follow up on action items presented by this committee. Again, no disrespect, but if, you know, we don't run the day-to-day operations here. Dr. Thorne does in the staff, and they do an excellent job. But when concerns like this are brought in front of this committee, it does raise an eyebrow.
Any final comments? Okay. Gentlemen, anything else?
No. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Prignano, once that item is resolved, would you have Dr. Thornton inform the committee? Just so that we're aware. Yes, thank you. Next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Anyone? All right, and lastly, I do think we have some items to go for executive session. And I'm just going to make one final comment. I recognize the frustration that many feel. I think we all feel it about a variety of things. We feel it about transportation. Because we know our buses are stretched pretty thin. We are struggling with the ability to roll out technology as quickly as we can because we don't have the resources. We struggle with the fact that our textbooks are still in the 1980s, pre-whatever war was during that time. We know we don't have enough interventionists at our middle school and elementary schools and very likely at the high school. It's all part of the challenge and the struggle of being the lowest funded district in the state. And we all have the thing that gets under our skin and makes us thoroughly irritated. It's a challenge for all of us to be in the position that we are, to have a spending plan that can support the district and the students equitably and fairly would help to address some of this. Because it's frustrating for all of us not to have, you know, a shower curtain. And it's interesting, the shower curtain was a discussion around the high school 10 years ago. And what was divulged was they would go to the hardware store the next day and fix all the woes of the high school and $40 or $50 million later, we actually had a facility that was at least proficient for learning. So, you know, I respect all of you and your concerns around frustration, but the issue lies in the adequacy of funding. And until we can satisfy that, similar to like how Massachusetts does it, where they essentially say, your town contributes X and your state contributes Y, because that's what your students need. And anything above that is gravy. And right now, we have the state contributes less than what they're supposed to, and the town contributes an arbitrary amount, to which we've said we don't believe there's an adequacy toward our basic education program. That's why we start getting angry. I need a vote to go into executive session for items referred to in Rhode Island General Law 4246.5. And we'll do that in just 1 second. I just need a motion to adjourn. We're going to go into executive session. Motion by Mrs. Teal, second by Mr. Duffy and Mr. Dennett. All those in favor? Those opposed? And that motion carries 7-0. We are adjourned.